guys. I'm Aisha Thomas, your organizational development and leadership trainer and consultant here, Normalizing Emotions Daily. The reality is emotions have a bad name, but behavioral science and emotions is so embedded in what I do. I think it's important that we normalize this thing that you're uncomfortable to talk about, and that is emotions. So today we're going to really start working on understanding the different tiers, right? And understanding emotions, because for many of us, you have a bias. You have emotional bias. You have this idea of emotion. Some of us say that I'm not an emotional person, but we are all emotional, right? And I want you to understand that being emotional is not a negative thing. And the language that we use, the understanding that we have is incorrect. And it's incorrect because for generations, right? And our first teachers and the way that we have learned about emotions is incorrect. So we're going to take you out from that bias, right? And really start understanding what emotions truly mean and how understanding it is going to benefit you and how you lead, develop, manage, and navigate life personally and professionally. So we're normalizing emotions on a daily basis. So let's dig into it. So why are normalizing emotions important? Why is it something that you need to understand? Because again, the way we learned it has been ineffective. It's been wrong. So we're taking that bias away and allowing you to embrace what emotions truly are and how really it is a tool. It is really a hack in the success of how you navigate, again, your personal and professional life. So I love this quote, right? It's by Antonio Damasio. It says, "We are not thinking machines that feel. We are feeling machines that think." Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are feeling machines that think. So again, let's move away from the language that I am not emotional. I'm not an emotional person, right? I'm not a feeler. You are, right? It's just the language and understanding it from a different perspective or from the right perspective. So let's redefine emotions, right? Redefine it. I want you to throw away any idea, any belief, thought that you had about emotions. Let's throw it away and let's start working on redefining what it means. So what is it defined? It is a complex, right, psychological state that involves three distinct components. Three, right? There's three pieces to it: a subjective experience, right? Related to a subject, right? An experience, something that's actually happening, right? A wedding, your first day at your job, a car crash or traffic. It is actually something that's happening. So there is a subjective experience piece of the emotions, right? Then there's the physiological experience, right? That's the nervous system response. That's sweating, that is crying, that is now the feeling side, what I call it. Feelings are basically the physical manifestations of emotions, all right? That's the physiological. That's when your nervous system starts to say, this is emotion happening. There's an emotion, all right? There's something happen here. There's a subjective side, and now you're starting to feel it. And now the output of that emotion, people can see it, you can feel it, right? You might turn red, right? You might start to feel yourself get warm, your heart starts beating faster. So there's a physiological, now your body is getting involved in this experience. And now lastly, a behavioral or expressive response, the act. That's why, again, emotions drive your actions, the act, the response, right? Now, this is the act. So that's when you are in that car. Again, say you're in, again, remember I mentioned earlier, traffic. That is the subject. That's a subjective experience. Now you're in traffic, and man, I've been in traffic for too long. I'm ready to get to work or to my destination. Now you have that physiological response that's happening in your nervous system. Now you are getting hot. Your heart is beating. You are getting upset. People don't know how to drive. You are just upset. You are feeling that heat. Now your behavior expressive response might be yelling out the car, right? I mean, I'm not guilty. I was going to say I'm guilty. I don't yell out the car because you don't know what could happen if you do that. But now your expressive response or your behavioral response might be honking, right? It might be, hey, maybe your response. And for me, traffic doesn't bother me as much. Why? I have an easy pass, right? If that's something that you use, I can kind of get around it. Or music, right? Music it just zones me out. So I don't respond to it the same. So my subjective experience is traffic's happening. All right. It is what it is. I'm going to turn on some music and I'm just going to cruise right through it. But for someone that is in that moment, they're frustrated. Say you have somewhere to go. Now it's different if I have somewhere to be and I have 5 minutes left. Now that experience might be different, but your expressive response might be, you might say some things. You might drive a little faster, or you might, find your way around that traffic in an aggressive manner. You might, I don't know, you might do a multitude of different things, right? So just think about it, right? So when I say, I don't know, I want you to put yourself in that seat and think about these different things that happened the last time you were in traffic. What was your physiological response? What happened? How did you feel that emotion of whatever, right? What was the emotion that you were feeling? And we'll get into that later because we're going to talk about that a little bit more about the different emotions. I want to educate you on understanding emotions from a different perspective. But what was happening, right? Did you get a little hot heart beating? Did you get frustrated? Have you ever cried in traffic? Like, oh my goodness, I'm going to be late for this job interview. And because of the stress of it, you might have teared up, or I'm going to be late for the wedding, or maybe you're on the way to your wedding and now you're going to be late. You're thinking about your guests and now the tears start to flow. And maybe you just shut down. Your expressive response might just be yelling at everyone in the car, or just, again, just a shutdown. So again, the act. What is the action now that follows after all these pieces come into play? And it varies from person to person, what the action looks like, right? It varies. So these are the three distinct components of the emotions. All right. So the reality is we learned emotions incorrectly. We correlate emotions to, being emotional, all these negative aspects of it. But what has to happen? Shout out to Brene Brown, right? She has an awesome book that's out right now. But we have to learn emotional granularity, the ability to accurately recognize and label emotions. It's recognizing it and label it correctly, because the way we've been labeling emotions are incorrect. In reality, we only know three emotions and see emotions one way. For many of us, happy looks one way. For many of us, sad looks one way. For many of us, angry looks one way. Not realizing, that sad might look different for different people. And that is okay. And it's important that we not, right, have a bias towards this is what happy should look like, this is what sad should look like, and this is what angry should look like. But we need to take time to understand, again, right, ourselves first, because it starts with us first. And then in the process of interacting with others, not assuming what we're seeing is tied to a specific emotion. Because again, emotional granularity is to accurately recognize and label emotions. So don't call that person angry, because what you see might read that's angry, because maybe that's what you experience. Maybe you've gone through this process, but that might actually be disappointment, sadness. That might be something completely different. All right. So we're going to build upon this. But I want to go back one more time, right, to redefine emotions for you one more time. It's a complex psychological state that involves three distinct components. Emotions, that's what they are: a subjective experience, a physiological experience, a response, and then a behavioral or expressive response. So there's the subject, or there's the experience that's happening. Then again, the physical manifestation of that emotion that the nervous system starts to pick up, and then you start to feel it, right? And then there's the act, the behavioral or expressive response. Could be in words, it could be, again, nonverbals, could be a multitude of things that happens on the other side with that action. And then again, we have learned emotions incorrectly, and emotional granularity allows us to accurately recognize and label emotions. And we need to get outside of the box of three emotions: angry, sad, happy, and recognize that we even see emotions one way, but the expression of it can look different for different people. All right. So make sure that you come back and you continue to learn more about these different variables of emotions. All right. And make sure you take time, go check out my podcast, Leader Set Trends podcast on all platforms. All right. Make sure you check that out. There's also a video option. So go check out that video series. And again, all platforms. So make sure you leave a review. You like it, make sure it's your favorite. And then, as always, if you want to reach out and learn more about me, get more information, you can reach me, Aisha Thomas, at aishathomas.org, or you can shoot me an email at info@aishathomas.org. And always remember, individuals don't typically quit the organization, they typically quit the leader. And that's why you need leadership development. However, on this series, on this focus point, we are learning how to normalize emotions daily. Thank you.